Beneath the crashing waves and the silent cliffs, we lower ourselves into a realm few have dared to enter. Here, a cold abyss awaits, older than any story, deeper than any fear we can name. The submersible becomes our only shield, a fragile cocoon of steel against the crushing blackness. Lights pierce only a few feet ahead, while currents twist like living things, trying to push us back. Each pulse of sonar reveals a world that seems endless, stretching far beyond human certainty. The creatures that appear in these shadows are both beautiful and terrifying, adapted to a place where sunlight has never touched. Fragile jellyfish bloom like ghostly flowers, and tiny shrimp form schools that scatter at the smallest hint of movement. Yet even these small lives remind us that here, everything survives on its own brutal terms. As we descend, the walls of basalt cliffs stand silent, carved by time into cathedrals of stone no sunlight will ever grace. The deeper we go, the more our presence feels like an intrusion, and the more the sea seems to test us. The pressure groans through our hull, each flickering warning light, another reminder of how alien this place is. In the distance, a massive shape stirs, and suddenly, our mission feels impossibly small. We came seeking knowledge, but down here, knowledge demands a price. In the silent depths, the line between hunter and hunted dissolves. Every vibration, every light, may draw the attention of something ancient and patient, something so vast that its shadow alone can swallow us. We glimpse traces, a giant scale reflecting a brief floodlight, a flicker of a tail vanishing behind volcanic columns, a pulse on sonar too large to believe. And still, we move forward, compelled by questions we cannot abandon. Technology and courage are all we have. Gauges, pressure dials, warning alarms, each one a fragile promise that the world above still waits for us. Yet, the sea offers no guarantees. It cares nothing for our maps or for our pride. Its truths are deeper than any depth chart and older than any measure we invented. As our lights sweep across alien corals, strange shrimps, and unearthly sponges, we see signs of survival that challenge everything we know. The pressure would kill us in moments, but here, life has written its own rules. And somewhere in that dark, giants stir, perhaps curious, perhaps indifferent, but always watching. We are visitors, guests in a cathedral we barely understand, trying to hear a language older than our species itself. Even as the abyss seems ready to consume us, a sense of awe takes hold. There is no other place where scale and silence combine so powerfully, where a single faint bioluminescent pulse can seem brighter than the sun. The submersible hovers in its own cone of light, and beyond it, darkness stretches forever. Shapes glide in and out of view, some familiar, others beyond imagination. Each movement forces us to question what is myth and what is truth. In these moments, bravery is not about fearlessness. It is about carrying fear with you, refusing to turn back, refusing to look away. That is the lesson the ocean teaches again and again. You cannot conquer it, only witness it. And witnessing is enough if you have the heart to look. As we ascend, our instruments chart a path back toward the surface, but our minds remain below, changed forever by what we have seen. These giants of the depths do not remember us, and yet we will remember them, haunted and inspired by their silent dominion. The currents move, and the abyss waits for the next explorer, for the next question, for the next moment of courage. Because somewhere in that endless dark, the story continues, and always will. In the hushed shadows beneath miles of water, we enter a kingdom that has no interest in our presence. The submersible becomes a fragile witness, tracing faint shapes that drift beyond light and time. These walls, covered in spiraling scars and strange patterns, seem to carry a language no living voice has spoken for centuries. Each pulse of sonar reaches into the dark and returns carrying more mystery than clarity. Down here, even a shadow can feel alive, and you can feel it noticing you, weighing your courage. Around us, creatures built for pressure, and night move through these halls with an elegance no human could match. Their glow is soft, careful, as if unwilling to challenge the darkness, but unwilling to surrender to it either. Plankton swirl in gentle currents, reminding us that even the smallest lights refuse to be forgotten. And somewhere, behind those curtains of silt, giants wait, slow, patient, perhaps indifferent, perhaps curious. We cannot name them, and we cannot measure them, but we know they are there. Each moment beneath these cliffs tests us. The pressure, the silence, the unknowable life that guards these trenches, all of it humbles us. And still we descend, drawn forward by a question that has no words. What are we really searching for, so far from the sun? Deeper still, a presence emerges, immense enough to make sonar hesitate, too vast for the mind to frame. Our lights dance across scales as large as boulders, barnacles grown thick over what might be flesh or might be stone, we cannot tell. When it shifts, the water trembles. It breathes, if breathing is even the right word, and with that breath, the entire world seems to pause. We see a single, massive eye, reflecting our floodlights in a mirror of slow awareness. It blinks, and in that motion, centuries of silent memory pass. This creature, this living monument, carries the weight of time deeper than any rock. Smaller fish dart around it without fear, as if they know something we do not. Here, fear is our burden alone. Respect becomes our only currency. We dim our lights, letting the darkness settle, acknowledging we are guests in its cathedral. It is an uneasy peace, balanced on trust neither side fully understands. In the soft flickers of plankton, in the quiet movement of current, in the faint pulses of hidden life, we are reminded that wonder is reason enough to be here, even if wonder alone can break a human heart. As we pull away, leaving that shape to return to its secret slumber, a hush falls across the submersible. We turn toward the surface with our minds still far below, replaying every faint glimmer, and every gentle movement. Nothing on the charts could prepare us for the grace of a giant choosing to ignore our presence. It might never think of us again, but we will think of it, over and over, carrying its image into dreams and questions that will never fully rest. The darkness behind us is not empty, it is full of stories that do not need our permission to exist. These walls of coral and barnacle, these cold cathedrals of stone, are more honest than any myth. They do not explain themselves. They do not need to. And we leave humbled by that lesson. Perhaps the truest act of exploration is not to conquer, but to witness. To stand in front of something immeasurable and admit we do not own it. As the sub rises, currents swirl past, carrying plankton that will outlive us, outlast us, and keep moving long after we are gone. Somewhere in that slow dance of light and dark, the ocean holds its own story, waiting patiently for the next question, the next visitor, the next moment of courage, as it has done since before we had words to describe its depths. We cross the threshold of silence into a world that does not remember us because it has never known us. These walls of coral and stone seem impossibly ancient, their patterns telling stories that no human tongue has ever spoken. Down here, even a breath feels like a challenge, measured by forces that do not forgive hesitation. The submersible becomes a fragile breath itself, pressing through water so cold and dark it feels alive, waiting to test us. We see shapes drifting between ridges, too large to name, too calm to fear us, yet powerful enough to erase our presence in a moment. There is a kindness in their indifference, a reminder that we are visitors here, temporary, passing, and easily forgotten. A spiral fossil half buried in silt holds the memory of a million tides, and smaller lives cling to it like guardians of that unbroken history. As our lights sweep across these vast structures, we understand that survival is an art down here. It is not loud, it is not quick. It is measured in heartbeats and the quiet confidence of lives that have made peace with darkness. Every movement seems purposeful, every pause like a ritual. And each moment forces us to question whether our curiosity deserves to disturb so much patience. There is a moment when a giant stirs, shifting a barnacle-crusted flank that seems half stone, half flesh. We hold our breath, watching it move with the calm certainty of a creature that has never known our fears. Its scars are maps of survival, carrying battles older than our civilizations. And yet, it grants us a moment, a gaze perhaps, or perhaps only the illusion of one, and then turns away, returning to its quiet reign. Smaller fish swirl around its massive shape, unafraid, adapted to its tides and its rhythms. They know a balance we struggle to find. We dim our lights, aware that our brightness does not belong here, trying not to intrude on something greater than our need for understanding. Even the coral around us seems to breathe differently, expanding and contracting with a slow confidence that we will never match. In that stillness, time feels different. Minutes stretch out, echoing the slowness of these giants. The ocean seems to ask only one question: will you listen? And to listen here is to surrender your sense of self, to become part of a story written long before you arrived, and destined to continue long after you are gone. As we turn back toward the surface, the submersible feels lighter, but our thoughts are heavier. The images of massive eyes, of slow coral growth, of fossil spirals and drifting plankton will remain in us forever, reshaping our understanding of what the word alive truly means. We thought we were explorers, but perhaps we were only students, witnesses to a world that requires nothing from us except respect. The water thickens with plankton as we ascend, and even in their smallest forms, these creatures show more courage than we can imagine. They drift in the cold, in the dark, moving as one, unafraid of the endless night. Their light, faint but persistent, feels like a promise that life will always find a way, even when nothing seems possible. As the faint rays of sunlight return, they feel harsh, almost unwelcome. Down there, every light was earned, every shape carried its own truth. We rise humbled, carrying a truth no language can fully contain. The sea does not ask for our understanding. It does not even ask for our respect. But if we are wise, we will offer both freely and leave this place ready to wonder again, to question again, and to carry forward a lesson older than any map, that mystery itself is sacred and worth defending. In these silent trenches, we pass through gates that no hands have built, only time. The coral arches stand like forgotten monuments, and the spiral fossils tell a story too old for language, too deep for memory. Here, the sea does not care for our fear. It tests us, not with rage, but with a calm so vast it becomes terrifying. The submersible is just a breath, fragile and borrowed, in a world that has never waited for us. We learn to move carefully, to respect even the smallest flicker of life clinging to barnacles or hiding in coral. In this kingdom of darkness, patience is not a virtue, but a law. Every creature, every grain of drifting silt, follows a rhythm that has no hurry. We shine our lights and see only the edges of a story. There are giants here who move with the certainty of time itself, and there are tiny lives that survive by trusting the dark. The plankton swirl like constellations made of dust, reminders that even in absolute blackness, hope can bloom. Each pulse of sonar becomes a question, and every shadow an answer we may not want to hear. In these walls of coral and bone, in the quiet shifting of a giant's breath, we understand. Courage is not a roar, but a whisper that refuses to break. The deeper we go, the more the line between wonder and fear dissolves. A massive creature turns, armored in scars and stories we cannot decipher, and for a moment, the sea itself seems to breathe with it. Smaller fish swirl around its presence, unafraid, perfectly adapted to its slowness. It does not chase them, they do not flee. It is balance, written without arrogance, spoken in movements so old our minds struggle to understand. We dim our lights, respecting that we are guests in a cathedral older than any stone on land. Here, the world does not need us to witness it, but it allows us for a moment to see. That permission is a gift beyond measure, and it humbles us. Even the fossil ridges remind us that nothing truly disappears. It only transforms. The coral, the shrimp, the drifting plankton, they inherit these shapes, breathe through them, live in the patterns left behind. In that stillness, we see ourselves. We see the illusion of control that crumbles the moment we leave the surface. Down here, only respect survives. Only those who know how to listen will ever truly learn what these walls are trying to teach. As we begin the slow rise toward the surface, it feels like leaving a dream. The sunlight seems too quick, too shallow, after the deep patience of the abyss. But we carry with us images that will never fade. The pale fish resting without fear, the coral arches built by centuries, the silent giants who ignore us because they have seen everything. We came looking for answers, but we found something better, questions worth asking. These depths do not grant easy knowledge. They demand a humility that our world so often forgets. Each fragile creature, each swirling plankton, survives not by strength alone, but by belonging. That lesson, carried up through miles of dark water, might outlive every chart we ever draw. As the submersible breaks toward the light, I wonder what will stay in our memories. The bioluminescent trails, the hush of something too big to name, the way silence can become a teacher. The ocean has no desire to be understood. It simply exists, unstoppable, unshaken, waiting for the next visitor brave enough to ask questions without expecting easy answers. And in that quiet invitation, we realize something profound, that mystery itself is sacred and worthy of our deepest respect. Beneath these final depths, time seems to pause. Every coral ridge, every spiral fossil has its own quiet history, measured not in years, but in moments of courage and calm. The submersible feels small here, a visitor without claims or promises, moving through a world that has no need for us yet tolerates our questions. We see shrimp living among barnacles, fish slipping between fossils older than any empire, and plankton dancing in a gentle current that will outlast every generation of explorers. Here, the darkness is not cruel, it is simply honest. There is no disguise, no mask, no illusion of ownership. Every creature survives by belonging, by balancing its place within a system too complex for us to chart. As our lights sweep across ancient coral pillars, we understand that survival is a quiet art built on trust, patience, and a refusal to conquer. The fossils do not stand in pride, but in testament to a story that never ended, only transformed. With each sonar ping, with each hush between propeller beats, we hear a language older than speech. A language of presence, of measured movement, of a calm that we, in our loud and hurried world, so often forget. And it welcomes us, but only if we come to listen. We move deeper, crossing a plain littered with memories carved in stone. Every fossil spiral reminds us that endings are illusions, that everything changes form, but nothing is truly lost. Small fish swim fearlessly through these monuments, trusting their place in a chain of life that has held for centuries. They do not fear the dark because they were made for it. They do not fear questions because they have no need to answer them. In this perfect calm, the ocean shows us a mirror. It tells us that we, too, are only guests passing through. That every heartbeat we measure is one borrowed from a greater rhythm we barely understand. Coral towers rise without arrogance, crowned with bioluminescent trails that glow only as much as they must, nothing more. That is the lesson, enoughness. Enough to live, enough to grow, without claiming too much. We glide past fossil ridges and coral arches that carry no names, no flags, no walls. Their survival is their signature, a kind of patience that holds more wisdom than all the charts and maps we have ever drawn. And in their shadow, we feel something shift, a reminder that wonder does not need to be explained to be honored. As the submersible begins its final ascent, drifting toward thin rays of sunlight, our minds linger in the silence below. The echoes of plankton swirling, the hush of fish resting without fear, the spiral fossils holding time like a secret, these images will not fade. We realize that the ocean was never hiding from us. It was waiting, patient as only the sea can be, for us to ask better questions. We came here seeking answers, but we rise with something better, respect. A respect for the courage of the smallest life, for the balance that holds entire worlds together, and for the mystery that keeps them alive. These depths do not grant us power. They grant us humility. They remind us that wonder is not a weakness, but a discipline. The discipline to stay curious, to keep listening, to return again and again without demanding ownership. As the surface light breaks through, it feels almost harsh compared to the gentle honesty of the dark. But we carry that honesty with us now, like a quiet oath. That we will remember what we saw. That we will share these questions. That we will never let the noise of our world drown out the lessons of the deep. And in that promise, there is a legacy far greater than any discovery, because it is rooted not in claiming, but in belonging.